Hello, everyone. My name is Harold Stewart, or William Harold Stewart is my full name, but I've always been called by my middle name, which is Harold. I'm here to talk to you today about a book that I wrote, that I was inspired to write, forcefully inspired to write. It's titled The Natural World Order, and this is it right here, a thought-provoking guide to the right path. As you can see, the design is a picture of a tree, a double, sort of a double tree with a book up under it. The tree in the shape of a brain, left and right hemisphere, represents the tree of knowledge, and the book, the open book, is the open book of knowledge. I'm basically, I started out in life as a singer and songwriter. I love music. I love performing. I love singing. And I love singing love songs. That is my uh, favorite. That's what I do. However, lately, no, I shouldn't say lately. In the past, for the past 50 years, I've noticed a trend in society, and that is the underdeveloped mind of the individual. Each individual has an underdeveloped mind in some way, shape, or form, myself included, all of us, because we have not reached our higher self. And that is the main reason I say that. There are a lot of intelligent people, there are a lot of good people on this planet. But there are a lot of people who will do and say things to harm you for no reason whatsoever than just to be doing it. So I decided to write this book. I noticed that we are out of our natural mind, feminine and masculine. That is the key to life. That's the key to family and all that pertains to life. If you'll notice the table of contents in my book, I got pretty heavy. I was very inspired, at least 20. They could easily be called essays. Now, the first chapter or first essay is the will, simplified. The next one is the Immaculate Conception. The next one is creation/evolution. The next one is knowledge. The next one is destiny. The next one is harmony, disharmony, misdirected, destination, rulership, the presiding bodies, the natural order, the nature of the swarm, the political divide, which is what I'm gonna read that chapter because we have a great political uprising in this country today, and it needs to be addressed. The business, the next one is titled Business/Capitalism, Controlled, Uncontrolled, Tonality, The Way, The Critical Mass, Let Us Make Man. For those of you who are involved in church, don't get all excited. I'm not trying to play God. I'm talking about raising someone from the cradle up, a good man and female, one who recognizes the principles of male and female, the divine principle of male and female, that is, and to build good character and integrity in a person. Let us make that kind of a man and female. When I say man, I'm speaking of one whole, male, female, both. So, drop my book here. Let me finish reading my chapters. Each other's keeper, and I talk about my 7-day fast, which I'm going to go on again because it was a beautiful experience. What I want for you and me, for those of you who think that I'm divisive, I'm not. It's all about togetherness with me. And last but not least, the common grounds. I speak of each one of these in this book. All of those are here from the top on down. There's the page that each one is on. Okay, now I'm going to go to page, what is that? Page 66, the political divide. Mind you, in front of each chapter, I have one of my own quotes. And at the end of each chapter, I have a quote from a popular person or a celebrity or philosopher or whatever. So the first chapter, this chapter, the political divide, we are only one people, one piece of the puzzle we are. That is my quote. It is also the lyrics to one of my songs. And at the end of this chapter is a quote from a lady by the name of Ayn Rand. And you can read that there real quickly. I can't read backwards, so I'm going to turn around and read it. It says, there is no difference between communism and socialism, except in the means of achieving the ends. Communism by force, socialism by vote. It is merely the difference between murder and suicide. Neither one is good for us. Man must be free. So I'll start with the political divide. Don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'm going to try to read this as fast as I can, but in a way that you can understand it and grasp what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say to you. In America, is America wicked, or is it the governing body of certain elected people that allow that allow greed and selfishness to prevail over the freedom and well-being of the people who are wicked? Okay, I'm going to read that again because it didn't come out right. Is America wicked, or is it the governing body of certain elected people that allow greed and selfishness to prevail over the freedom and well-being of the people who are wicked? The people are inherently good for the most part, but the ongoing attitudinal mindset of the political arena is contagious from the top down. An arrogance of the highest order exists and thrives here, without regards to the natural law. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. These officials automatically assume a stance of divisiveness and display servitude by attempting to force rules and regulations upon the general public to claim a victory for themselves or whoever has brought and paid for their political run. A political arena of opposing party is a country divided against itself. On one side, you have the republic or founding principles of individual pursuit of happiness, freedom, justice, and equality, a government of, by, and for the people, which somehow set itself up for resistance by allowing forced enslavement of a nation of people. But they wrote the Constitution and occupational contract, which states that all men are created equal. Whether they viewed the slaves as men or not, it's obvious they were men and freedom was imminent. On the other side, you have the Democrats with the principle of democracy and social equality, a social order of government rule and dependency with little regard for the Constitution that promotes freedom and liberty for all while slavery was in full effect. This divide completely ignores the problem of humanity and makes way for a host of unjust laws that changes the nature of all. Recognize each man as a man and freedom applies to all. Each new law has a domino effect, gaining momentum as it reaches. Somebody would have to call me, huh? While they sympathize with, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to start all over. Each new law has a domino effect, gaining momentum as it reaches more ears, causing people to pick and choose whose side they sympathize with, such as the right to abortion, the right to same-sex marriage, a government mandate, government health care, government gun control laws, and eminent domain. There's just a few things that cause people to side or pick and choose sides. So today, not only are we divided by politics, we are divided as a people and as a nation. This is the government overtaking the people by twisting the cause, hiding their true agenda, and claiming to do what's right for the people or what's best for the people. At the same point in time, the Democrats fought long and hard to keep slavery legal, while the Republicans fought to abolish it forever. Now the Democrats lay claim to the battle against enslavement while keeping its constituents in a position of dependency, which is another form of enslavement. The twisted irony is that the Republican Party do have an underhanded part in the propagation of the racial agenda. This is the great divide that feeds the political process. We are divided by an expressive hatred ingrained deep in our emotional psyches. Suffice it to say that as long as we are hated, we are being controlled. Because hate is an unnatural trait to humanitarianism, and the manipulative media can turn it on and off at will, dividing us further and further apart. The hate is what's driving us in all aspects of life. Most of us carry our concerns way too far. We don't just disagree, we are battle ready in trivial matters. A white supremacy group and agitated group of blacks are both terrifying to the general public, each one hating and terrorizing the other, each one unaware that they are like tools in a toolbox of division, carrying out the orders of an architect of divide and conquer. Add to this military police force, we add to this a military police force swarming the cities under orders from the higher ups, and you got the whole world terrorized by the thought as to what can escalate from there. Here's what I find to be a bit of a contradictory oversight in the call for civil rights. Whites in the Republican Party are stigmatized as being bigoted, whereas whites in the Democrat Party are not. Even though the racism exists in the very fabric of society and the Democratic Party. Racism is the form of one race dominating another race economically, politically, and socially, is exactly what the Democrat Party exemplifies. The last 50 years of loyalty to the Democratic Party has not allowed an inch of progress for the blacks in America. Instead, it has locked them down as permanent dependents in a wretched state of existence and somehow deceived blacks into thinking they are fighting for them. But they have done a brilliant job of filling blacks with hatred for the Republicans. All they have to do is accuse them of being racist, and blacks believe, completely overlooking the ones who are pointing the finger. Wasn't Satan considered the great accuser? Just asking. The Democratic Party has formed a new version of slavery on the government plantation. By slipping into an undeserving position of trust, the Democratic Party can arouse the blacks at will and cause them to swarm their own neighborhood and destroy it. It was a step by step process, starting with the welfare system, issuing food stamps on the condition that no father is living in the house, which was a direct attack on the family. These parents were told, or the parents were told not to discipline their child or face charges and jail time. Children were psychologically diagnosed with all types of disorders and drugged. Juvenile delinquency has led to an increase in crimes and incarceration. Meanwhile, the blacks keep on voting Democrats to keep receiving food stamps and government assistance. And the situation gets worse generation after generation. It's like choosing dependency over independence, seeking help from one party and rejecting help from the other at the expense of self reliance. The condition of the black community today is directly because of the democratic policies and the inabilities of blacks to see this. To all of this, I say to blacks, first off, question everything and know for yourself. Don't reject or accept this book for stating the obvious, or anything else for that matter. Find out for yourself. Don't lay all your eggs in one basket, or your loyalty will be exploited, as it already has been for decades. Become aware of your own ability to rise, elevate your thinking, and strengthen the bond of family. Make male female relationships a priority, as well as economic growth. Family is the highest principle of life. Family cultivates communities, and communities nurtures unity and stimulates economies or economics. Save our young men and women by drawing them close and teaching them who they are. Teach them self preservation, fiscal insight, frugality, independence, character, and integrity. Know your history and become economically viable. Don't let anyone define your reality, or you'll find that the only thing you're keeping real is ignorance. Now, I got to stop for just a second because I just spoke about our young men and women in today's society. As a black man, I'm 62 years old and I've seen a lot. I've lived through the assassination of presidents, civil rights leaders, and community leaders. I've seen a lot. I've lived through the 60s. And I got to say that we, men, my age and older, owe an apology to the young men of today, young males of today, because we left you nothing. And we stuck with the Democratic Party, the party of deceit that has kept the black man down. And whites too, for that matter. As you say, there are whites on food stamps as well. And I mentioned food stamps because that is what we have been associated with, welfare. So the Democrat Party has kept society down. I'm not here to defend anyone and say the Republicans are perfect, but the Republic is, is a guarantee of freedom. Democracy is not. Democracy it just says that everyone, um, the majority rules. So if there's a lynch mob outside and they're saying, let's lynch him, that's the majority. But the Republic says, hold on, he deserves a trial. The law states that you cannot take matters into your own hands. So we got to understand the difference there. But again, I got off track. My apology to all young black males and males in general, young males, because we screwed the country up and we as black men have not left, we let our neighborhoods go. We have not left, provided you any kind of opportunity or anything to look forward to. And for that, I am truly, truly sorry. We can only move forward and try our best to correct this. And I am. So I continue with my book. Let's see. Meanwhile, blacks keep voting Democrats. Okay, I was there already. Oh, for whites that care, I say lend a hand in some way. I know many blacks act as if they don't want it and still complain when they don't get it. And some may say I'm delusional for asking, but I've learned to look deep into the hearts of men and see no disconnect, only ignorance. We all should know by now that all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do. I think you can finish that one. Nothing. I quote Edmund Burke. But it is better to teach a man to fish than to fish for him. Let me say this the correct way. Give a man a fish and you will feed him for a day. Teach him to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The Bible. You know this. It is a natural law to abide by, and it is a good thing to do. Help, but no food stamps. No interference, just help. Don't look down on anyone and encourage it among others of your race or ethnicity, I should say. There's only one race, and that's the human race. Everyone is an extension. Demand that the hidden historical truth be exposed about everything. Why? Because the truth sets everyone free. Free of guilt, free of shame, and free of blame. Now go do the right thing. Any injustice encountered must be met with justice immediately. The injustice that has been committed on the black Americans for hundreds of years has gone unchecked. And those that know full well this is criminally wrong and do nothing are either frozen in fear or just self-centered or just too self-centered to care. They open themselves up to be used as political pawns upon blacks and whites alike, and the conditions remain the same. The same people, the more people who speak out against this tragedy, the better chance that the imbalance of power and injustice be eliminated. The longer we wait, the worse it gets. No civilized society looks down their noses and frowns upon a downtrodden people and shuts them off from the sharing of opportunities, prosperity, and acquiring of property and wealth made possible by the blood, sweat, and tears of forced slavery of the downtrodden so-called African Americans. I'm not talking about taking anything from the rich or the filthy rich. I'm referring first and foremost to the correction by reparations. And it doesn't have to be money. Just reparation is repairing the damage. If you look at our young people out in the streets today, they need repairing. I know most of the responsibility falls upon us, but the cause and effect law is there. And the cause is from Democratic policies, which shut down the family and broke up the family. So now we have young men walking around with their pants hanging off the. I'm not even going to get into that. Anyways, I'm referring first and foremost to making reparation. I'm aware that many will take issues with that suggestion. But as I explained, reparation is about repair. But problems arising from the aftermath of slavery has only been dealt with indirectly, never directly. And blacks suffer from being unorganized under a unified banner. Every group that has been wronged has received reparation from the American taxpayer. This means that blacks have helped pay for something they had no part of, while they themselves are victims of unspeakable, ongoing genocide, uncompensated. To this day, compensation in the form of welfare is only treating and perpetuating the conditions of the after effects of slavery and its horrendous cruelty. The very way of undignified behavior, the actual mindset of too many people in the inner cities is what the current system is supporting and sustaining. The Democrats do not want us to get better. None of us, especially blacks, because they represent, quote, the poor man. So they have to keep you poor for you to keep voting for them. Once you rise above your condition, you no longer seek out someone to help you get out of your condition. You seek out someone to help you stay in a state of prosperity and moving up. And that's not the Democratic Party. They need downtrodden people. This is why, as we wake up, they bring in Syrians and illegal immigrants. They want to. They need them now because we're slowly but surely waking up. So they need that vote. That's all we have ever been to them. Get that through your head because it's the truth. Just think of the billions of dollars that have gone out of the country every year to the players of the game at the top. This money could have been used by the American people to at least address the problem and have leftovers funds for the rightful owners or earners. Food stamps and general assistance is a failed liberal policy that has only prolonged the condition. I'm also referring to the 14th Amendment, of which every group has benefited from except the freed blacks it was intended for. It should be interesting to explain to a nation of free men that hold captive and enslaved for hundreds of years, then released. Excuse me, let me start this one over. It should be interesting to explain how a nation of free men can be held captive and enslaved for hundreds of years, then released from slavery under the jurisdiction of the country that enslaved them, denying them basic human rights. A civilized society cares about every inhabitant and should include every contributing member upholding high standards of living for all. Since they won't do it at the top, why not we, the people? Why don't the American people make it happen? Now we are imprisoned by decision makers bringing in refugees, well, I already touched upon that, and illegal immigrants from around the world just for a vote to keep them in power, completely forsaking the downtrodden black men, women, and children who are already here, and whites, whose ancestors have paid 100-fold with their lives, blood, sweat, and tears, literally. They have no regard for the billions of dollars stolen from the American citizen and exchanged among their hands. nor do they care about the unjustifiable conditions that already exist in our society. Conditions like civil unrest, uncivilized behavior, and extreme poverty in the land of plenty, all created by racism and governmental or political plunder. They only claim to care to get votes. No one should be allowed to come to our country as dependent until we, red, brown, yellow, black, or white, are properly attended to and cared for. This especially includes our war veterans, who should not want for anything having been sent off to war and trained to kill or be killed. Every citizen should be included in our societal interactions as first class citizens. Then and only then will America be truly great. With proper and sincere reparations in the form of economic advancement and social equality, the African American can and will be a most productive counterpart, economically loyal and valuable ally, rather than an unprivileged, underclass, underdeveloped nuisance and uneducated consumer in America. A natural world order is the order of the day now. Love of self and kind is extremely necessary. Every event since the turn of the century to this day has been driven by the desire to bring in the new world order and establish a ruler over man. All of the wars, the propping up and dismantling of regimes around the world are the deliberate result of strategic planning. The racial divide, the political divide, the religious wars are all part of it. The conspiracy is unfolding right before our eyes. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. Every group is under the influence and control of a few at the helm of power, instigating mayhem. We must thwart the plan to rule us by recognizing the common threat to us all. No matter what ethnicity you are, your life and freedom is in jeopardy. Don't fall for the racial and political divide. It is a distraction from the issues and what they're really trying to hide. More lyrics in another one of my songs titled One People. Come together as one people and the revolution begins. We can revolt righteously within the confines of natural law, for it is our birthright to live free in the pursuit of happiness, prosperity, and spiritual growth. It allows to allow ourselves to be divided continuously is unapologetically insane and suicidal. We are psychologically inept at functioning in a civilized manner as a whole if we are divided. It is extremely urgent that we stop and focus on developing minds to be more at ease, peaceful, and compatible with civil society. A peaceful mind will not advocate war, discrimination, or division. A peaceful mind operates in a contemplative state of spiritual unification rather than dogmatic political divisiveness. We are only divided and controlled because of our underdeveloped minds properly purposely derailed by our elected officials exploiting the educational dumbing down of America to their benefit. End of chapter.